hitting. So like you can be and look, I know that they had PJ Tucker, but I'm just going to give it as an example because it's a Mike D'Antoni team.
Mm-hmm.
You can be the Houston Rockets and be a Chris Paul hamstring away from beating the Warriors, which is arguably the best team basketball has ever seen, by shooting threes and playing like a really up tempo motion offense.
Yeah, but
If
you can't. Okay, you
it
can't
only if
miss. You can't if
only
you have
Eric
PJ
Gordon,
Tucker, the guy that
no, no,
Kevin Durant called the
sure,
best.
sure, that's the added part of it. But what I'm saying is that you can play that style, but part of what made that team what that team was the fact that people also shot lights out. And right now, like and look, I'm by no means marginalizing with PJ Tucker, and honestly
They had
and they
Capella
had
that year
Capella
too.
and Capella on the team. So if you
And when
put
they
Allen and
removed Capella, they went backwards. After they went completely small ball. That's when their team went completely
right,
to
so if
crap.
you say that Jared Allen, right? So if you say though that Jared Allen is basically in the Capella role, what they're really missing is more of the tone setting guy, which is someone which is like basically what we've been talking about for a couple months now, since before the season even started, going back to the bubble, looking forward in terms of what we wanted from the off season.
Listen,
And
listen. That I agree with you. You are 100% right in saying what you're saying. But the problem, Sam, is that not even are the people who cover this team. Do you understand me? There's people who are writing articles saying that the problem with this team is that we need a Jared Dudley pep talk. I had to I saw the link shared on Twitter, and I said before I say anything, let me just go to the article and read it. It's our guy. I think our guy Matt wrote it. Um, um, yeah, and Matt is smart, and I like what he does, but this is some more of this like witchcraft that people believe in. That Jared Dudley gave a locker room speech and had a X and O session. Come on, Sam. The reason why the Nets sucked was for Jared Dudley. He was horrible. He could only play one game out of three. And then when he did play, he was just so overmatched under the basket. It was ridiculous. And the thing is, people are avoiding the reality of why that team went on a run. And it was because they gave up. They gave up. Kenny Atkins said, all right, forget it. He took the handcuffs off D'Lo and he put Rodions in the game. And when Rodions, who's not even a good power forward, he was a rookie power forward. So everything that's wrong with him now was worse back then. But because they had someone who was actually athletic, who could actually catch an alley-oop on the other side of Jared Allen when they double him or triple in the paint because the Nets offense is so telegraphed. They had a choice. They had another guy, an energy guy, a guy who could maybe poke a steal into the backcourt and dunk it. I've seen Taurean Prince basically get a steal in open court, start going down the lane, and then kick it instead of dunking it.
yeah, but now you're talking about there's a difference between there's a couple different things what you're saying. There's a difference between them not having enough grit and them also and then lacking some like physicality and size, and then the fact that their bench, which has been which everyone said through the first two games was the absolute like massive upside of this team, and whatever all these opposing teams should fear, has now become a bench that no one is afraid of. And so I think those are two different things. And look, those two things, as you said, are both things that are unbelievably controlled by Sean Marks. And they're if this team doesn't go as far as we want it to go, that is clearly going to be the reason why. It's going to be the Taurean Prince trade. It's going to be the Shamit for what could have been Precious or Sadiq Bey. It's going to be it's going to be the fact that DeAndre is on this team and gets wasted minutes. It's going to be the fact that I don't really know why Bruce Brown doesn't get any run. It's going to be the fact that when LeVert is in at this point in the second unit, because everybody else isn't playing as well, he clearly feels more of a pressure to do more than he needs to do.
Dude, check this out. Check this out. Torian Prince was -12 today. Landry Shamet was -15. Jeff Green was -8. Right?
Yep.
Now, again, I always give the plus minus disclaimer. It usually doesn't tell you what's going wrong. But with the Nets, because they're so top heavy, you'll have Kyrie Irving +11, Kevin Durant +9, right? You can easily find the cancer in this team, and it's the fact that they've got these two small forwards, and they're not even they're at the small forward and the shooting guard. So it's not even that they're getting overwhelmed, but it's more so that they just cancel each other out. And then on top of it, Karras is at the point guard. I know that sounds right to a lot of people, but it's not. He should be working off ball. He should not every single play down court have the ball in his hands and basically have this package of this read and react package, which I'm very familiar with D'Antoni. Never forget he spent a few horrendous years with the Knicks, and the reason why they are so easy to guard is because everybody in that lineup pretty much does the same thing. It's drive and kick, and there's no athletes. There's one athlete, and that's Jared Allen, and there's not much he can do because he has to be basically planted in the paint because he's the only one that can protect the paint. My God, this is horrendous. And if you mean to tell me that the only signing that you could do in the offseason is the one you never play, we're in trouble. We're in a massive amount of trouble. Like, this is a bigger problem than what it looks like right now. And I just can't. I really don't know how to approach this in terms of dissecting this game because, one, we know they're not going to fix it. Right? That's the bigger thing. Like, it's the same thing that's happened in every of the last three games. The same thing has happened each time. We're watching these long athletic kids. Do me a favor, partner. Find out how tall Cam Reddish is.
I believe he's like 6 right now.
Right? Cam Reddish is a shooting guard. A shooting guard.
He's 6'8", 7'1" span.
This is the NBA now. Back in the day, they would have made Cam Reddish. They would have developed Cam Reddish into a power forward or a small forward at the least. And these are the guys that the younger in leagues in AAU is cranking out now all the time. And the Nets have nothing in their game plan. Like, DeAndre Hunter is the small forward on that Atlanta Hawks team, right? And DeAndre Hunter is a physical specimen. You mean to tell me the coach can't as a basketball organization, you can't look at it and go, you know what? Maybe it's not a good matchup for us to put Joe Harris on that guy. Maybe to get the best out of Joe Harris, we need to have some lineup versatility. And you can't tell me that Jeff Green is the best answer. I don't get it, man. I really don't get it. Who's to blame for this, Sam? Who do you blame?
I mean, I'm not in as much of a. I will still say that I'm not in as much of a panic mode in the sense that I just think it's really, really. I think it's really, really early, and I also think that I also think a lot of this stuff is super fixable. Like, I think rebounding is actually like one of the things in the NBA that's one of the easiest things to find. Like, you can get guys that are gritty. You can get guys that kind of have the size and temperament of what we're talking about right now. What's harder to find is like superstar scoring talent and guys who are always in the triple threat position and great outside shooting and stuff like that. That to me in this league is harder to find. And look, I mean, like this is a team that has like I'm going to say this a lot, but and I know it's repetitive. I know it doesn't answer any questions, but it's how I truly feel because from my limited playing basketball career and also from which I still do from time to time and from watching it my entire life, like getting a bunch of people together and having them play, they can practice as much as they want in Los Angeles and stuff like that. But going through the trials and tribulations of an NBA season when you've never played together and no one really knows what's up, like that, I mean, to me, that's when the team is actually going to be tested. They're 3-4 right now. I always say this, and I've said it on Twitter a million times. The 2010-11 Miami Heat were 9-8. You have the LeBron bumping into Spoelstra going back to the bench, like, and everyone thought that was like the end of the universe. Like this shit does happen. Changes need to be made. Like this was before LeBron also was like the kingmaker and had any rings, and like it seemed like things were going out of control there. And like KD and Kyrie are both more seasoned than LeBron was at that point. So like I'm just not. I think the stuff that every single Nets fan has seen and can see is something that is changeable. And look, this is the thing that we haven't talked about in a while, in part because Marks has had a relatively quiet offseason. But it's make no mistake, there's a reason why Marks has kept his chips loaded in terms of the fact that like they have every pick going forward, and they have seconds like going forward and stuff like that. So like there's going to be people that become available. There's going to be a buyout market. And in a lot of senses, in a lot of ways, that is sometimes where like championships are won. And like, and so that's why I'm more concerned about Nash getting the rotations right and figuring out who can really play and who can't. And I'm more unsure as to why certain guys haven't gotten as many opportunities as other people. And so that's I guess where more of my trepidation lies at this point. But it's not as much with the lack of grit and defense because I think defense and rebounding is just going to be the team's weakness. But I think that there's ways to work on it to make it salvageable so that they can still be a championship team when the time becomes that, especially given the amount of assets they have.
Here's why I don't like comparing it to the Heat. The Heat, when they put that team together, already had a championship pedigree. That, and I'm not saying KD and those guys aren't champions, but the guy who is pulling the strings, who understands what it takes to win in crunch time, he's cobbling teams together and making it NBA Finals, and that's Pat Riley.
Yep.
Do you believe that Sean Marks will pull a Pat Riley and find the right formula?
Yeah. I mean, I actually, it's funny. I think Marks has the right idea on a lot of this stuff. But I also agree with you at the same time where I kind of probably lie in between you and Marks on this spectrum in the sense I think he's probably overdone the shooting to the point that to be honest, it's to the point that even if the guys weren't even shooting well, it's almost like extra. Like it just makes it look way worse because he has all these shooters and a lot of them aren't even shooting that well right now. So it honestly gets thrown in your face more. But like even if Prince was shooting 40% instead of whatever he's shooting from 20% or whatever, we would still be having the same conversation about how the Nets are like incredibly soft, right? Like that conversation isn't really changing, which is why I'm more interested in. And I I actually wanted to use this analogy because I think it's super relatable to all sports fans and because a lot of the front office listeners are both baseball and football fans, whatever it is. I think Marks has to stop with like the Danny Ainge obsession of like quote unquote winning trades. And you need to just like make decisions that actually win you games. It's like the Yankees traded Aroldis Chapman for who was then a